Alright, today we're going to rank every single Lions trick play that they ran this year. In order to make it more efficient, I have grouped all the different plays by similarity, and we're going to grade them in their category, but we'll also be grading based off my completely biased vibes of the play, and less so off the succession rate. Vibes include things like complexity, ingenuity, using positions out of player, yada yada. Let's begin. The first category is one that I'm going to call plays I just like. These are dubious to even be called trick plays, albeit they are somewhat tricky. Example 1, 4th and 1 against the Bucks. They line up in this tricky little wing T, power I, something strange, okay? But hand it off to Gibbs while faking the pitch the other way. This one goes into C tier. This should give you the vibe of why I call them just plays I like. Staying at the C tier, we have this fake pass run. It's like a reverse play action. It did a good job of holding the linebackers up and let them pick up a first down. Pretty ingenious. I like it, but nothing too crazy. Then, moving up to the B tier, we have this play action sprint out style design play where they dump it back off to St. Brown underneath as he was blocking for the first half of the play. And speaking of giving it to St. Brown underneath, staying in B tier, this one isn't too crazy. Again, I just like it. It's a little fake pitch pulling the guard and tackle while St. Brown comes off the edge to receive the handoff underneath for a big chunk play.
For a first down.
The next category that I'm going to talk about are the calls trying to get people to draw them off sides. It worked twice this season, so I'm throwing both of those in there, and it's against division rivals. They're going to have this little motion turbo call where they're going to move somebody, give the turbo call, and the opposing D-line jumps back-to-back times. Happen against the Bears and the Vikings, and it's really nice. They're both C-tier plays, but you know what? I'm throwing them in there.
Here come the flags.
Alright, next is going to be some people's favorite category. It's just out of position plays. All this means is that somebody is lined up somewhere they're not supposed to be or doing something they're not typically supposed to do, which is what makes the play special. And in the D tier, we've got Skipper lined up as a decoy against the Cowboys. Now you might think they should be higher, and the only reason it's not is because they didn't throw the ball to him, nor did it look like they planned on it, which really pissed me off. He looked ready. Pull the trigger, Ben. Next up is a running back pass. This is a great C tier play, and that should excite you because we're not even hitting the Lions' most intricate standards yet. But it was executed brilliantly, so that's why it's in the C tier. But moving on to the ones that you're waiting for when taking on the Bills. Skipper declares as eligible, holds his block for a second, then runs to the flats, where rolling out golf hits him directly in the face mask, and he runs it in for the big man tutty. This jumps all the way to a solid A tier, but in my opinion, the one S tier comes also against the Cowboys. Decker attempting to get his comeuppance, holds his block, then runs a little fade route. He is completely covered up, but Goff throws it anyway, and that's the confidence I'm talking about. We also had Montgomery with his fake dive over the pile during the play, which I absolutely respect, making this an S tier fake.
There's not many linemen that are going to make that catch.
We're breezing through these, so now we're going to move on to reverses and reverse variants. These didn't always work out so well for the Lions in their base form. Against the Cardinals, they lost a solid 5 yards, as well as against the Packers, it cost them about 12 yards, so both of those go into D tier for their execution and because it's not particularly ingenuitive. But the base form of this play did get positive yards against the Bears, so that one will be moved into C tier. But against the Bills, they ran, it's a throwback, but it's kind of a reverse in spirit when you think about it, because it uses the same principles as a reverse, and it ends up being a double pass for a sizable chunk yards, which move it into B tier. Then against the Cowboys, they went with the reverse flea flicker that resulted in a touchdown, and honestly, what didn't result in a touchdown for the Lions that day? But that one's going to move into B tier because it's pretty much a copy and paste of what a ton of other teams have done, but it doesn't make it less exciting.
Got Laporta wide open. Sam Laporta foot race towards the end zone.
Okay, next we're going to move on to special teams fakes. You know I had to throw these in here, even though it's not Ben Johnson calling them. There were only 2, with the worst of them being this pretty basic pass from Jack Fox. I liked the guts on it, the execution was great, and all in all, it's a B tier play. But the one I was really interested in was this sort of pitch option run that got absolutely eaten alive by the Vikings, and despite it not working, I'm still going to give it a B. I thought it was a really smart play, and I may or may not be putting it in my personal playbook, but this would have been like an A+ or an S had it worked out for them.
Can't pitch it. Asamoah does a great job setting the edge.
Now the fourth and easily largest category of today's video is a play I'm endearingly calling the Ben Johnson, and I'll let you get accustomed to it as they ran it twice against the Niners, where you either fake or actually hand the ball off on a dive, then have the end around as a second option. But from this pretty simple base, there was a ton of room for Ben to work with, and you're going to see it. Even though their first attempt against the Niners is a C tier, against the Rams, they're going to run it twice, both directions, downs and popped off huge chunk yardage both times. They also ran an eerily similar version of this play against the Bucs, but this time they pulled Amon-Ra St. Brown to be a lead blocker. And one more time against the Bears, they ran a similar version to pick up an easy first down. But those are just the B-tier ways you could run it. A popular one, when you don't hand it off to the first back, is he's going to run a little screen, like against the Cardinals to pick up a solid gain, or the Colts, which got them 15 yards. The Bills even gave them 6 yards on the screen, while getting another 6-yard gain from the Bears on this A-tier design. You could also just use it as a confusing backdrop for a play-action pass, which they did against the Colts for a huge gain, but the absolute S-tier Ben Johnson special is when there is going to be when this play sets up a double pass, which is pulled off against the Seahawks, with St. Brown throwing to a wide open Jared Goff for a touchdown on this same design. Or what we all thought was going to be a pass, like when they handed it off to none other than Penei Sewell, who looked like he was going to throw it before just embarrassing a ton of Bears defenders while stepping out of bounds. Heck, they even threatened to hand it off to Sewell again against the Niners, but instead gave it to Gibbs for no gain. And while it's cool to watch these go from least to most complex, it's kind of more interesting, in my opinion, to watch this play unfold chronologically, where you get to see it start off with just the end around, then they add layers like pulling lead blockers from the opposite side, turning it into a screen to the first running back, then to a throwback to the opposite side, then to Goff in the end zone, then to other passing variants, and then to just running it at its base again, before handing it off to Penei Sewell, with the ultimate conclusion was setting up Sewell as a decoy man against the Niners. And I just really like this play. I think it's pretty neat.
I don't think they were prepared to tackle the 460-pound.
This takes me to my absolute favorite genre of trick play, the old hook and ladder, or hook and lateral, whatever you want to call it. Just don't call it a bad play. First, we had them pulling it off brilliantly against the Cardinals, which of course resulted in a touchdown, with St. Brown pitching it back to Gibbs. Then, late in the fourth, needing to score, get the onside and score again, they run this daring play on a 4th and 10 to pick up the first down against the Bills, and against the Niners on 3rd and 12, they bust this bad boy out not only to get the first down, but to complete their 66% touchdown percentage on hook and lateral plays as they take it 41 yards for the score. But the ultimate apex of this play, the only time I believe the NFL should ever have bent the rules, was once again against the Cowboys. There's a pass to St. Brown, and he pitches it back to no other than Sewell, who runs it in for a first down and almost a touchdown, but was called back for an illegal man downfield, and they should have just ignored it. Not because it's the right thing, but just because it's funny. But all of those, S tier. I love the hook and lateral, but when you run a hook and lateral to your right tackle, S+ tier.
Just unbelievable athleticism. I don't love his ball security.
But the only play that gets its own tier, a tier above everything else, let me take you to their game against the Bears. Goff, under center, takes the snap and he's going to hand it off but stumbles. But not only he stumbles, it's a disaster because Gibbs falls down. Call the ambulance. But not for me. They activate the trap card. The Bears all stop thinking the play was going wrong, leaving Sam Laporta wide open for a walk-in touchdown. That's right, a weaponized goof-up. S++ tier. Now I've seen it all, which is why everybody is so excited every time the Lions step on the field.
Such a good play call, isn't it? I mean, you're talking about Ben Johnson